My brother secretly slipped something into my drink at my wedding. I saw it happen with my own eyes. Not as a suspicion, not as a misunderstanding, but clearly. His hand moved over my champagne glass, and within seconds, a small packet disappeared into the sparkling liquid. Then he stepped back, smiled at the guests around him, and continued acting like the loving older brother everyone believed him to be. For a moment, I felt my heart stop. More than 200 guests had gathered to celebrate what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and yet the person trying to ruin it wasn't a stranger. It was my own brother. The most frightening part wasn't what he did, it was how calm he looked while doing it. There was no panic in his eyes, no hesitation in his movements. He looked like a man following a plan he had rehearsed many times before. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab the microphone and tell everyone what I had just witnessed. But something stopped me. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was years of dealing with him and understanding exactly how his mind worked. Instead of confronting him, I waited until he turned his back. Then I quietly walked to the table, picked up my glass, and switched it with his. A few minutes later, the wedding reception continued as if nothing had happened. Music filled the room. Guests laughed and talked. My husband greeted relatives near the dance floor while photographers captured what looked like the perfect celebration. Then came the family toast. Everyone raised their glasses. My brother lifted the champagne he believed belonged to him and smiled across the room at me. I smiled back. He had no idea that the glass in his hand contained the surprise he had prepared for me. Without hesitation, he drank it. I raised a glass of water and silently watched. Exactly 30 minutes later, everything began to fall apart. My brother stepped onto the stage holding a microphone. The lights dimmed. Conversation stopped. The giant projector screen behind him flickered to life. At first, guests assumed it was another wedding slideshow. Then a title appeared on the screen. The Truth About the Bride. A wave of confusion spread through the room. People turned toward me. My brother stood proudly beneath the screen, wearing the smile of someone who believed victory was only seconds away. What nobody knew was that this wasn't just a wedding speech. It was an ambush. A trap carefully designed to destroy my reputation in front of everyone I loved. But what my brother didn't realize was that his plan had already started collapsing the moment he drank from the wrong glass. Before the night was over, family secrets would be exposed. Long-buried lies would come crashing into the open. My parents would be forced to face a truth they had ignored for years. Police would arrive at the venue. And the golden child who had spent his entire life escaping consequences would finally discover what happens when there is nowhere left to hide. The wedding he intended to ruin would become the night that changed our family forever, and the night everyone finally saw my brother for who he really was. The wedding he intended to ruin would become the night that changed our family forever, and the night everyone finally saw my brother for who he really was. For several long seconds after the projector screen lit up, nobody moved. The room seemed frozen between confusion and curiosity. Guests exchanged uncertain looks, trying to figure out whether this was some planned wedding surprise or something else entirely. My brother stood confidently at the center of the room with a microphone in his hand. He looked relaxed, almost proud, like a man who had spent months preparing for this exact moment. When he smiled at me, I immediately understood that everything happening tonight had been carefully planned. This wasn't a joke. It wasn't a prank. It was an attack. "Family deserves honesty," he announced loudly, especially when someone has spent years pretending to be something they're not. Several people turned toward me. I could feel dozens of eyes watching my reaction. My mother looked nervous. My father frowned but remained silent. Across the room, Jake immediately sensed something was wrong. His eyes met mine, silently asking if I needed help. I gave him the smallest nod possible, not because I was afraid, but because I needed him to trust me for a few more minutes. The first document appeared on the giant screen behind Tristan, then another, then another. He began presenting financial records connected to our family ranch trust. With every slide, he sounded more confident. To anyone who didn't know the full story, the evidence looked convincing. Gasps spread through the audience. Relatives whispered among themselves. A few guests even looked disappointed as they stared in my direction. Tristan noticed their reactions and became even more confident. He believed he was winning. What nobody realized was that every document on that screen had been manipulated. Important information had been removed. Approval signatures had been cropped out. Explanations had been deleted. He wasn't revealing the truth. He was creating a lie powerful enough to look like the truth. As he continued speaking, I noticed something strange. His voice wasn't as steady as it had been earlier. His hand trembled slightly while holding the microphone. Sweat had started forming along his forehead. He blinked repeatedly, as if struggling to focus. The drink was beginning to affect him. He tried to hide it, but I could see the change happening in real time. Finally, Tristan spread his arms dramatically and looked toward the audience. "I didn't want to do this tonight," he said. "But everyone deserves to know the truth before celebrating someone who built her life on deception." The room fell silent. That was when I slowly stood from my chair. The whispers stopped immediately. Every eye turned toward me. "Then let's tell the whole truth," I said calmly. For the first time all evening, uncertainty appeared on Tristan's face. I walked toward the stage without rushing. My heart was beating hard, but my voice remained steady. Years ago, I would have been terrified. Years ago, I would have cried and begged people to believe me. But years of dealing with Tristan had taught me something important. People like him depend on panic. They depend on emotional reactions. The moment you stop giving them that power, they begin losing control. "You want honesty?" I asked. "Then let's start with the fact that every document you've shown tonight has been edited." A shocked murmur moved through the crowd. Tristan laughed nervously. "That's ridiculous." "No," I replied. "What's ridiculous is thinking nobody would check the original files." At that moment, Lily walked toward the projector table carrying a flash drive. She inserted it into the laptop while everyone watched. The screen changed instantly. The same financial records appeared, but this time they were complete. Every missing page was restored. Every approval signature was visible. Every explanation Tristan had removed was displayed for everyone to see. My father leaned forward in his chair. "That's my signature," he said quietly. "Yes," I answered, "because you approved those repairs yourself." The color immediately drained from Tristan's face. Before he could respond, another voice suddenly filled the room through the speaker system. My grandmother's attorney. The entire reception hall fell silent as her voice echoed through the speakers. "For the record," she said professionally, "the documents currently displayed are the official records. The versions previously shown by Tristan Hayes were incomplete and misleading." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Only minutes earlier, people had been questioning me. Now they were questioning him. The attorney continued speaking. "There is also another matter that deserves attention. Our office has spent the past several months investigating unauthorized access to trust records." My father's expression changed immediately. He slowly turned toward Tristan. "What does she mean?" My brother swallowed hard. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "No," I said quietly. "What's ridiculous is how far you've gone to destroy me." For the first time that night, genuine fear appeared in his eyes. Then I revealed the truth I had been holding back. 30 minutes ago," I said loudly, "I watched my brother put something into my champagne." The reaction was immediate. Gasps erupted throughout the room. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Jake stepped closer beside me. Several guests stood from their seats. "You're lying," Tristan shouted. "Am I?" I looked toward the entrance. Right on cue, the venue manager walked into the reception hall. Standing beside her was the bartender Tristan had secretly hired. The man looked terrified. The venue manager raised her phone. "He confessed," she said. The room exploded into shocked conversation. People began talking over each other. My father looked completely stunned. What exactly did he confess to? The bartender lowered his head. "Mr. Hayes paid me to replace the scheduled bartender," he admitted. "He wanted me to alter the drink service and help with the slideshow." The silence that followed felt heavier than any shouting. My mother began crying. Jake squeezed my hand, and Tristan looked like a man watching his entire world collapse around him. But the worst revelation was still waiting. "There's more," I said. Lily clicked another folder. A new title appeared across the giant screen. "What Tristan Didn't Want You to See." Immediately, my brother lunged toward the projector. "Turn that off." Nobody listened. The first document appeared, a loan agreement, then another, then another. Each one revealed debts Tristan had secretly accumulated over the years: forged signatures, unauthorized loans, hidden financial accounts, misused family assets. Every page exposed another lie. Every document revealed another betrayal. The deeper we went, the quieter the room became. My father looked physically ill. My mother could barely stand. Guests stared at the screen in complete disbelief, and for the first time in his entire life, Tristan had nowhere left to hide. "You don't understand," he shouted desperately. "I was going to fix everything." "Fix what?" my father asked. "The lies? The theft? The forged signatures?" Tristan looked around the room, searching for support. Nobody came to his rescue. Nobody defended him. Nobody made excuses. The golden child finally stood alone. Then he snapped. "She took everything from me." He pointed directly at me. "Grandma trusted her. Dad trusted her. Everyone treated her like she was perfect. I was supposed to inherit the ranch." There it was, the truth. Not justice, not family loyalty, not concern. Jealousy. Years and years of jealousy. He hadn't tried to ruin me because I hurt him. He tried to ruin me because he couldn't stand seeing me succeed. My father slowly shook his head. "No," he said quietly, "you ruined yourself." Those words hit harder than anything else that night, because they were true. Nobody forced Tristan to forge signatures. Nobody forced him to tamper with a drink. Nobody forced him to lie. Every choice had been his own. Minutes later, venue security entered the room. For the first time all evening, genuine panic appeared on Tristan's face. He looked at our parents. Neither of them moved. Neither of them defended him. The protection he had relied on his entire life was finally gone. As security escorted him toward the exit, he turned back one final time and looked at me. For years, I had feared his approval. For years, I had worried about his anger. But standing there beside my husband, surrounded by people who finally knew the truth, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Because the nightmare was finally over. When the doors closed behind him, the entire room seemed to exhale. Nobody cheered. Nobody celebrated. It wasn't that kind of victory. It felt more like waking up after a very long nightmare. Jake wrapped his arm around my shoulders and smiled softly. "You okay?" I looked around the room. The lies were gone. The truth remained. And for the first time all day, nobody was questioning who I was. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think I finally am."